Hello folks, so in this video I wanted to talk about alerts, right? There are a lot of companies, software companies out there, and generally any company out there that focuses on alerts. For example, any company you run, if you're using software, you will most probably be using software. You will want to have alerts on, say, if it's a SaaS software, if your SaaS billing is going up high, it's a post-paid software, for example, cloud bill, you will want to put alerts on your bills, right? So, like if it hits something unimaginable, for example, usually your monthly bill is say $500, right? Then you would want to put a alert saying if it goes above say $500 or like say $600 or $700, then give me an alert so that you know what's going on. Why is the infrastructure cost, the cloud cost going high up, right? So similar to this, you will have other services, SaaS services, like say Neuralink is a observability platform. You pay for it post-paid only generally. Assuming you are a general user, maybe they might have contracts for prepaid, for saying 5-year contract and prepay, or 5-year contract postpaid. But when it's postpaid, for example, I used to work in a startup called Togai. We didn't put billing alerts over there for the Neuralink bills, right? So assuming the SaaS platform provides alerts themselves, great. If they don't, at least they should provide some API so that you can actually use the API and keep polling the API. Or if they have webhooks, use the webhooks to actually get the bill amount every day or whenever it changes and something like that. It will probably change every moment because you're actively using say something like Neuralink or any SaaS platform. So if you can actually just use some APIs and then you can use alerts saying, okay, the bill has gone really high up. For example, for Togai, the bill was really high, like $200 and all, but we were actually not using, I think $200 was it, but basically Togai wasn't using Neuralink so much. And when we actually calculated the cost and forecasted the cost based on our usage, past usage, we didn't expect the cost to go this high, right? Like only one of the accounts used so much. The cost went like I think 3x, 4x, I can't remember how much x. And I was like, why? What happened? And I noticed this. So I was the infrastructure guy and I only set up Neuralink, so it was my fault. And I was supposed to actually know this when this happened itself, immediately when this happened, right? But I didn't know it. Instead, I got to know this by chance. That's the worst part. Like my leaders didn't say, they were not looking at the bills, I think. My CTO got the email and I was also getting the email. Fortunately, I got the email. I don't remember how I got the email, the billing alert. I can't remember why I got it. My CTO only should get it, but I also got it. And I was like, I just randomly checked it out once. It's important to check your bills. Every month you will get your bill in PDF form and or whatever form over email and whatnot. So I checked the bill and I was like, wait, why is the bill amount so much? Right? And then I went around, checked it out, debugged it, and then found out we're sending too much data to Neuralink, and in Neuralink the pricing is generally based on data. And so then I reduced the data because we were not using all that data that we sent to Neuralink. Neuralink was processing the data and all that and showing, and was having information that we weren't using really for our observability systems. Like we weren't creating dashboards out of the data, extra data that we were sending. So this was data about Postgres, right? Postgres indexes. There was like lot of data about Postgres indexes that we were sending. Then I had to turn it off. This was because Neuralink we were using Neuralink agents. We were not using OpenTelemetry and all. I have never used, till date, I have not personally used OpenTelemetry agents. I have used only Neuralink agent or Prometheus, say, to actually get the metrics. So, and exporters, right? For Prometheus exporters for getting the metrics are, and in this case, we were using a Neuralink agent with Neuralink. Previously, I've used Prometheus exporters for the specific software, and then Prometheus to scrape the metrics, and then use Alert Manager to manage the alerts, right? So this time I was like, wait, what is going on, right? And then so Neuralink agent was basically the Neuralink agent for Postgres was basically sending a lot of data by default. It's great for them, right? Like, one is they provide more observability by sending index data, and by sending more data they get more money, right? So it's beneficial for them as a business. They can show more features and whatnot. So they show these data, like index data in say in their dashboards and all, Postgres dashboard that they provide by default, I think built in and all. You can just install it, like just say enable it, and then it's enabled. So I was like, okay, let's get rid of this data. I used configuration for the Neuralink agent. I even wrote about this, and then got rid of that extra data that we were sending to Neuralink. But then the craziest part was I had to know, actually. I should have known that the bill was really high. I should have set up alerts if there are alerts. If there are no alerts, Neuralink, for example, as a platform, provides almost everything through an API. So you can actually, even the data ingested, I learned that only later, right? Their Neuralink query, which is NRQ, and a Neuralink query language NRQL. You can use a Neuralink query NRQ to actually run a query to get even billing data, I think. So I was actually using the billing alerts feature in Neuralink itself, and I put it up that saying if it goes above this value, then give me an alert, right? But you can write Neuralink query and get alerts for data ingested, bills, everything, right? And similar to this, you will want alerts, right? Like I don't know if your system is down and whatnot, and you'll want all these alerts to be important alerts. Only when this is important, you need to get the alert, because you don't want unnecessary, unimportant alerts to come to you, right? If they come to you, then you'll be like, okay, what do I do with this alert? You'll be spammed with alerts. There are companies like, I think, I forgot the name. I met the founder of the company, and they actually deal with alert management. They look at your alerts, or they automate this. They look at your alerts and then look at all the alerts that have no action on them, that have not been responded to, no action has been done on them. Then they actually help you reduce those alerts. They are like, you don't do anything with these alerts. So they are like, non-actionable alerts don't make sense in software and in general, right? So why is it called an alert? Then it's just information, that's all. So in our case, in my current team, we are getting alerts and we don't do any action because we say it's a known issue. We don't silence these alerts. But the problem is this, right? Once you keep acknowledging or silencing these issues or ignoring these issues, you get used to actually ignoring these. And when it's an actual alert problem, let's say some new problem and not an existing known issue, then you're like, oops, now it's a different issue. Someone comes up and says, why didn't you look at this? You think it's a known issue and you ignore it, right? So for example, we have some Redis instances that are taking too much memory. We should know exactly which instances are taking too much memory. Maybe silence them for some time, maybe not too much time, silence them for some time. And then once actually the team, say the product team that is writing an application that is using too much memory, the product team says we still haven't fixed the issue, that's why too much memory is being used. Even if we give more memory to Redis, the application uses more and more memory of Redis, right? So then you silence it for some time. Once the application team says we have fixed the issue, then you stop silencing these alerts. The next thing is, since these Redis instances are running in Kubernetes and of course are running in say some node, right? In case of this, in our case, it's running in Kubernetes. It's running in a node which is called the worker node, where the workloads are running, right? And it's doing some work, so it's a worker. So worker node, so you're getting alerts for worker nodes next. So then my colleagues are like, this is a known issue, and then I got resolved, the like alert got resolved, incident got resolved in PagerDuty. I'm like, what if we don't even look at which node? The node could be any node, and the node could be some other node which is running some other Redis which is of some other application and not the application for which we have a known issue that it will use up too much memory in Redis, right? So you should basically know which is a known issue, and at node level, worker node level in Kubernetes worker nodes, you can run many Redis instances and all that, like many pods and whatnot, many softwares. So in our case, any Redis can go to that worker node, I guess, depending on, of course, a lot of things, the scheduling, how much resources it has, and the pods, labels, like if it has been tainted and stuff like that. So if it satisfies all the rules that we have set up, saying this Redis should, like some Redis should run in some way like this, in some node like this, then okay, right? So there can be multiple Redis instances, say in some node. Maybe the Redis that is causing the issue maybe could be some other new Redis which is of some new application. New Redis isn't like some different Redis of some different application where there is no known issue till now, at least, right? But then what if you assume this is because of the Redis that we already know has a known issue because of a known issue in the application? So you can't always assume or like just say it's known issue very easily in this case when it's a node issue, right? So you have to actually debug and understand, but it's too much time to actually like look at the alert and then debug and understand what is running in the node, and then look at all the pods and look at all the things that are running, say different Redis instances, and then look at memory usage, CPU. In this case it was a CPU usage problem. Look at the CPU usage and then be like, okay, so which one is causing the problem, and then is it a known issue, right? Now this can be automated, and then be like, now run this, whenever you get this alert, some automation should run. This alert should go to some automation and not to a person, and that automation should run and be like, okay, which node has the issue, and which pod is causing this issue, or what is causing this issue, and then it should send an alert to PagerDuty, or to say alert manager, and alert manager will send to PagerDuty. If that and in alert manager we would have set up alerts and rules saying, not alerts, sorry, rules for how to send the alerts and whatnot, how to manage. It can silence alerts and all, and group alerts. There in alert manager we can say if it's a known, anytime you get an alert for the known Redis issue for which we have a known application issue, for that silence it. So then from the automation it will go to alert manager. If it's a known Redis and known issue, known Redis issue, known application issue, then alert manager will silence it off and you won't get it. The humans will not get the alert, right? But then if the automation sends saying that, hey, this is the Redis, some different Redis, XYZ Redis, which is not a known issue and which does not have any known issues, its application does not have any known issues, and automation sends it to alert manager will send it to you. Now this way you can actually use automation to filter out some stuff, do some debugging also, and ensure that your automation is smart enough to do this debugging, basic debugging, so that you can silence alerts, unnecessary alerts that comes to humans. You basically unnecessarily just silence them. Of course you can easily silence the pod level ones, that is more granular, but the node level ones you need to actually look at how to silence them by looking at, in case if you want to silence them. In this case you can't silence the node level like completely, the node completely, right? You have to silence only for that pod, that instance and whatnot, that pod instance, that software instance and all that. You can't completely silence a node, because the pod can die from the node, worker node in Kubernetes, and can go somewhere else, right? And something else can also be running that in that worker node that can be causing issues. You can't silence all the alerts from that worker node. So you'll have to actually have some automation in between that intervenes and then understands what is causing the problem, and then gives you a granular level alert to alert manager, which can actually take care of silencing stuff and whatnot. So this is what I was just wondering now, because I got an alert like this today, and then when I asked my colleagues, they were like, dude, this is a known issue, so it's fine. And then it got resolved by Prometheus after some time. But yeah, it's important to actually have alerts that are actionable. If you're not taking action on them, silence them and ensure that you're not simply ignoring them. Instead, understanding what is the problem, exact problem, and then if it's a known issue, then only ignoring them, but or like silencing them. If you don't have silencing, then look at how you can do silencing so that you are not bombarded with alerts. Because when you're bombarded with alerts, sometimes you get that it's called alert fatigue, I think. So alert spamming, alert fatigue, and all that. So you at some point you're like, too much alerts, just some known issue, whatever, and then you leave it off. You shouldn't have that mindset of like, when an alert comes, you should take an action immediately. That's how your mindset should work, right? It shouldn't be like, this is probably a known alert, a known issue or whatever, or this is just a known issue, just cut it, like just acknowledge it and just ignore it, right? Don't even like look at it. Though that should not happen. It takes up your mind space, your head space, it takes up your time. You're thinking about it or whatever, or you actually end up looking too much alerts. You might at some point just look at some alert and mindlessly just acknowledge and ignore on say pager duty by mistake, because it has become so much of a habit that even in a new alert, a not known issue, you might just ignore it, right? So it's just human tendency to follow habit. So we are all habitual creatures, so it's important to actually form a habit that is helpful. And if you are going to ignore alerts that are important and not known issues, then it's going to be a problem and it's not helpful. So I think you should always work on improving your alerts, and it's an ongoing journey. More and more alerts you put, more and more alerts you get, you basically keep learning and try to do alert management. There was even a workshop by Neuralink on alert management and how to manage alerts, but it wasn't recorded. I don't remember much of the content now, unfortunately, but I think I remember the people who took it. Maybe I might be able to reach out to them and get the slides to understand basics. And it was actually a very fun workshop. It was based on a game, wherein a game was run and then you try to understand alerts and whatnot, and ensure that you are not spammed with alerts and all. So yeah, that's all I had for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.